Welcome to this video on making a memory painting during grief. For doing this kind of painting, you will need a good piece of watercolour paper, a white candle, some clean water, a sponge, some good big brushes, and some watercolour or ink or even food colouring. And it's very useful for this kind of thing just to use the things that you get inside biscuit packets to hold the biscuits, or a chocolate box or something like that, just so you've got the colours nice and easily available, or the sort of pots that you have marmalade and jam in, or even egg cups. Now, the idea of this is to produce a painting which is a memory painting of the person that you've lost, but it won't be a portrait. It's all about them rather than what they look like. So when you've finished it, and if you like it enough and you put it on the wall, no one will know what it is, only you will know. For the purpose of this particular video, I'm going to actually do a memory painting of my cat, rather than doing a memory painting of my husband that I lost, because it will be easier for me to talk while I'm doing it. So the first thing we're going to do is to take your white candle, and this paper is thick watercolour paper, so it's got a nice surface on it, and we're going to make marks which represent the way in which the person that we lost moved. But in this case, I'm going to be doing my cat, so I'm just going to be making marks. So in this case, I'm thinking about the way that he curled up, or the way he jumped, or the way he sat sort of happily. So I've just made those marks quite hard with the candle so that they will show. I might put another one for the way in which he pounced. So these are just marks with the candle. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the paper over. If you turn it over this way, you'll know which way up it was, but not that that really matters with this sort of painting. And then soak your sponge in clean water, and then really wet the paper all over the back. And it's quite important to do this really thoroughly, so that the paper ends up soaked, not just gently damp, but really soaked. Then turn it back the other way up, turning end over end, make it easier to remember which way up it was. And then lay it down. And now you're going to wet the front, the top, the edge you made the marks on, all over again, so that once again this will be really wet. There's no proper correct way of doing this. However you do it will be right, whatever feels right to you. There isn't a should or ought, and it's a thing that you could do quite gently. In the workshop, we will provide you with everything you need, like the water, the sponge, and the watercolour paints and the brushes. And the only thing you would need to bring yourselves, I suggest you wear some sort of shirt or something back to front, just to keep yourself from getting splashed with the watercolours, because some of them do stain. And a hairdryer might be useful in order to make sure your picture's dry enough to take it home with you. Now, the whole idea of this is it is not a very controlled process. We're just letting happen what happens. So the first thing I suggest you do is choose a colour which represents the person that you've lost. What colour do you think that they would be? And you can mix up a colour. You don't have to use a colour that's actually supplied, though we will produce quite a lot of colours for you. And then you take your brush, and in this case, because my cat was a ginger cat, I'm going to take the red. And you can use either hand for this, but in some ways it just happens better if you use the hand you don't normally use. Now, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to take the brush with my left, and I'm going to make random marks to represent my cat. But yours will be the colours for whoever it is that you're remembering. Now, some people will have a sense that the person that they've lost is with members of their families, or some people will have a sense that they're because they have a faith of some kind, that they're with God. So you could make a colour or choose a colour for whoever you're thinking that they might be with, or if you're thinking that they might be with God. So in my case, I'm going to put yellow on for that, for the spiritual presence with them now that they've died. I'll use my right hand, and I meant to use my left so that I didn't control it too much. Having done that, just sit and watch the colours for a little bit and see what happens to them. This is not a process to be rushed, because it's really a process of giving thanks for the person that you've lost, that you knew them and loved them and that they were with you. Then what we're going to do is to take colours for what they were like. My cat had a very big meow, and he would follow me around even when I was looking for things in ponds and things like that. So I've chosen blue because of his meow in those cases, and I'm going to put blue on. As you can see, this is not a controlled process. You don't know what's going to happen. So he did meow very loudly, but for you it might be that the person you loved sang or had some creative thing that you really loved. And so for each of those things, and there may be a lot of them, I'm just going to do one more, add a colour, another colour. So I think I'm going to add a bit of green, because my cat loved the garden. And again, stop and watch it. Think about how those things represent them. There's the red for the cat, my Sammy Nat he was called, and there's the yellow in my case for a spiritual sense around him and looking after him, and there's the blue for his meow, and the green for the way he liked being out in the garden. Now that you will have a lot more things, and we will supply you with glitter, glue, and all sorts of pretty things that you can add as well. And then gradually, over time, just watch it and think about all the ways in which that person was special for you. As it dries, you will find it changes, and you may think there are things that it needs, and in which case you can stop being so sloshy as I've been, and you might like to sort of play with it. You might like to do some gentle marks while you think about what they're doing. I'm just using the back end of the paintbrush for this. You might just think, oh, that he had his mouth so wide when he meowed. And you can rinse your brush in your ending in that water you've got. And you might think, I love the way he stalked. I love the way he stalked. Oh, I've forgotten something. I've forgotten his purrs. What can I use for purrs? So I think I will use, and the way he kneaded his feet into me. I think I'm going to actually draw a purr, because I think it went up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And then there's that feeling on your skin when he patted me with his paws. So I've added that. I think for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to leave it there. But for you, you've got plenty of time during the workshop to sit and do this very slowly, and then to play with what you've got. You can use your fingers. You can even use bits of your sponge if you want to tear them off and use them. There's no rules in this, absolutely no rules. fact, I think I'm going to blot his purr, because it was a very woolly blot, purr. I'm just going to straighten my paper out so that it's not quite so cobbly, but the coggles themselves actually affect how the paint flows and affect what you've got at the end. If you want to spend any time with those of us who are there, at any point, if things get too much for you, we're always there for you to come and sit and just have a quiet moment, or whatever you need. This is time for you to remember that the person you've lost. And I very much hope that it will be a very special time for you, and that the painting which you get will be something that you can take home and treasure.